All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I'm Abhishek Mukhopadhyay and with me is Anuja Kumar. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to launch several power and urban sector projects in Kerala today to also address Visva Bharati's convocation ceremony. Prime Minister calls for special visa for doctors and nurses and regional air ambulance agreement in South Asia to tackle any medical emergency. Puducherry Lieutenant Governor asked Chief Minister V. Narayanasamy to prove majority of his government in Assembly on Monday. For the first time, China admits death of the soldiers in Galwan Valley clashes. India rejects UN Special Rapporteur's comments on Jammu and Kashmir. Foreign ministers of Quad countries call for promoting freedom of navigation in Indo-Pacific region. American Space Agency NASA lands its fifth rover Perseverance on Mars successfully. And in tennis, men's doubles match of Australian Open underway at Melbourne. As the nation fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin with a message of precaution to stay safe and protected by following these three simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki duri for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will inaugurate and lay the foundation stone of key projects of power and urban sector in Kerala today through video conferencing. More from a Thiruvananthapuram correspondent.
The major project that will be inaugurated by the Prime Minister today in Kerala is the 320 kV Pugalur-Thrissur power transmission project, which will facilitate the transfer of 2000 megawatt of power from the western region that will help to meet the growing power demand in the state. The Prime Minister will also dedicate to the nation the 50 megawatt Kasaragod solar power project developed under the National Solar Energy Mission. Mr. Modi will also lay the foundation stone of the Integrated Command and Control Center at Thiruvananthapuram, which is being set up to host smart solutions for Thiruvananthapuram Municipal Corporation. Besides, the Prime Minister will lay the foundation stone of the Smart Roads project in Thiruvananthapuram. A water treatment plant at Aruvikara will also be inaugurated by him that will boost the supply of drinking water in the capital city. Mayusha for AR News from Thiruvananthapuram.
Prime Minister will address the convocation of Visva Bharati at 11 a.m. today via video conferencing. West Bengal Governor and Rector of the Visva Bharati Jagdeep Dhankar, Union Education Minister Ramesh Pokhriyal Nishank and Union Minister of State for Education Sanjay Dhotre will be present on the occasion. A total of 2,535 students will receive their degrees during the ceremony. Visva Bharati was founded by Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore in 1921. It is the oldest central university in the country. In May 1951, Visva Bharati was declared to be a central university and an institution of national importance by an Act of Parliament. The university followed the pedagogy devised by Gurudev Tagore, though gradually it evolved in the format in which modern universities developed elsewhere. The Prime Minister is also the Chancellor of the university.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has said that India is working towards a healthy and COVID-19 free neighbourhood. Addressing a workshop on COVID-19 management, experience, good practices and way forward with nearly 10 neighbouring countries virtually, Mr. Modi said all countries have learned from each other from best practices.
Many other regions and groups followed our early example. We created the COVID-19 Emergency Response Fund to meet the immediate cost of fighting the pandemic. We shared our resources, medicines, PPE and testing equipments. And above all, we shared the most valuable commodity, knowledge, through collaborative training of our health workers.
The Prime Minister said India has achieved the lowest fatality rate globally.
The spirit of collaboration is a valuable takeaway from this pandemic. Through our openness and determination, we have managed to achieve one of the lowest fatality rates in the world. Today, the hopes of our region and the world are focused on rapid deployment of vaccines. In this too, we must maintain the same cooperative and collaborative spirit.
Mr. Modi said all countries should maintain collaborative spirit during the vaccination. Mr. Modi suggested that there should be special visas for medical professionals and arrangement for special air ambulance.
Over the past year, our health cooperation has already achieved so much. Can we now think of raising our ambition further? Allow me to make some suggestions for your discussion. Can we consider creating a special visa scheme for our doctors and nurses so that they can travel quickly within our region during health emergencies on the request of the receiving country? Can our civil aviation ministries coordinate a regional air ambulance agreement for medical contingencies?
The Prime Minister said India's Ayushma Bharat can be a case study for all the regional countries for healthcare. The Prime Minister insisted that a regional platform may be created for studies on forecasting future pandemics. Mr. Modi emphasized that 21st century is Asia's century and it cannot be achieved without greater integration of South Asia and Indian Ocean island countries. Prime Minister Narendra Modi spoke with Prime Minister of Australia, Scott Morrison, yesterday. In a tweet, Mr. Modi said both the countries reiterated their commitment to consolidate comprehensive strategic partnership and discussed regional issues of common interest. He said India is looking forward to work together for peace, prosperity and security in the Indo-Pacific region.
Puducherry Lieutenant Governor Dr. Tamilisai Soundarajan has directed the Chief Minister Narayanasamy to prove his government's majority on the floor of the Assembly. A special session of the Assembly will be convened on the 22nd of February. More from a correspondent.
The Rajnivas press release said that the meeting shall be confined to a single agenda, whether the incumbent Chief Minister continues to enjoy the confidence of the House. The voting on agenda shall take place by show of hands and the entire proceedings shall be videographed. It is further mentioned that the floor test shall be concluded on 22nd before 5 p.m. and proceedings shall not be adjourned, delayed or suspended at any cost. Meanwhile, the Chief Minister Narayanasamy said that the party will take a decision after meeting with the MLAs of its ally and the leaders of the alliance parties. With the latest development, both the ruling Congress DMK alliance and AIADMK BJP alliance have 14 MLAs each in the 33-member assembly, which includes 3 nominated MLAs, currently has 28 active MLAs. Chandramohan, Air News, Puducherry.
For the first time, China has admitted that 5 of its soldiers were killed in Galwan Valley clashes with the Indian Army. Chinese state media reported that the Central Military Commission of China has disclosed the names of 5 Chinese frontier officers and soldiers stationed in the Karakoram Mountains who were killed in the border confrontation with India, which occurred in the Galwan Valley in June 2020. The Indian Army, however, maintained that the casualty to the Chinese side could be much higher. More from our Beijing correspondent.
It was a contrasting scene when India honored its martyrs, but China kept silent on number of casualties. There have been reports of more casualties on Chinese side, but China never acknowledged them, except now when it has mentioned 5 names. In May 2020, the PLA troops moved forward from their usual positions in the Indian side of the LOC, leading to a standoff lasting months. On February 10th, China announced the start of synchronized and organized disengagement by the frontline troops of both sides at the southern and northern bank of Pangong Lake. After this first phase of disengagement, senior military commanders will meet and talk about disengagement at other places. Ayushma Mishra, All India Radio, Beijing.
India has taken strong objection to the press release on Jammu and Kashmir by 2 special rapporteurs of the Human Rights Council on minority issues and freedom of religion or belief. Spokesman in the Ministry of External Affairs Anurag Srivastava said that India expects the special rapporteurs to develop a better understanding of the issues under their consideration before jumping to hasty conclusions and issuing press statements. Replying over the statements issued by the special rapporteur on the minority issues, Fernand D. Varanasi, and special rapporteur on freedom of religion or belief Ahmed Shahid, Mr. Srivastava said that the statement regards the fact that Jammu and Kashmir is an integral and inalienable part of India and the decision of 5th of August 2019 regarding change in its status from a state to a union territory was taken by the Parliament of the country. He said the statements fails to take into account the steps aimed at ending decades of discrimination, enshrining democracy at the grassroots level through successful conduct of local elections for the district development councils and ensuring good governance through Back to Village program. Mr. Srivastava asserted that the press release has ignored the positive impact of extending laws applicable to the rest of India to Jammu and Kashmir and enabling the people of Jammu and Kashmir to enjoy the same rights as available to people in other parts of India. Responding to the apprehensions regarding demographic change in the Union Territory, he said the fact that an overwhelming majority of domicile certificates issued in J&K are to the erstwhile permanent resident certificate holders shows that these fears are baseless and unfounded.
The delegation of foreign envoys from Europe and Africa, which visited Jammu yesterday, was briefed by the top officials of the Indian Army and J&K Police about the security situation in the Union Territory. Police sources told AIR News that the envoys were briefed about the Indian Army's role in making terrorists surrender, about infiltration from LOC and support of Pakistan Army in infiltration, harboring terrorists, training camps and seizure of weapons supplied by Pakistan. Foreign ministers of Quad countries, India, Australia, Japan and the US discussed the necessity to promote freedom of navigation in the Indo-Pacific region. External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar represented India at the third Quad ministerial meeting yesterday. The foreign ministers emphasized their commitment to upholding a rules-based international order underpinned by respect for territorial integrity and sovereignty, rule of law, transparency, freedom of navigation in the international seas, and peaceful resolution of disputes. It was noted that the Indo-Pacific concept had gathered growing international support, including in Europe. The ministers highlighted their shared attributes as political democracies, market economies, and pluralistic societies. They recognize that the changes underway in the world makes a strong case for their countries working closely together. It was important for the international community that the direction of changes remains positive and beneficial to all. The ministers discussed ongoing efforts to combat the COVID-19 pandemic, including vaccination programs. India's efforts at providing vaccines to 74 countries was recognized and appreciated. In the discussion pertaining to recent developments in Myanmar, the upholding of rule of law and the democratic transition was reiterated by India. Noting that regular Quad consultations hold value, the ministers agreed to continue these useful discussions.
Foreign Secretary Harshvardhan Shringla has said the relationship with China is complex and there cannot be a normal bilateral relationship if there is no peace and tranquility in border areas. Speaking at the Diplomatic Academy of Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Moscow, Mr. Shringla said the process of disengagement in Pangong Lake area will conclude in the next 2 to 3 days. He said developments last year in terms of the very large number of troops amassed on the border area, multiple transgressions along the line of actual control, did create a situation that impacted the larger relationship. Union government has procured a record number of over 647 lakh tons of paddy in the current Kharif marketing season. Agriculture Ministry said this is an increase of 15.33% against the last year's corresponding purchase of around 561 lakh tons. Out of the total purchase, Punjab alone has contributed over 202 lakh tons, which is 31.31% of total procurement. The ministry said the procurement of paddy is continuing smoothly in the procuring states and union territories of Punjab, Haryana, Uttar Pradesh, Telangana, Uttarakhand, Tamil Nadu, Chandigarh, Jammu and Kashmir, Kerala, Gujarat, Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Bihar, Jharkhand, Assam, Karnataka, West Bengal and Tripura. It said more than 93 lakh farmers have already benefited from the ongoing procurement operations with MSP value of over 1,22,000 crore rupees.
In our series on Union Budget 2021-22, today we bring you an overview of the announcements relating to Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. The government has made a provision of over 2,785 crore rupees for the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. While presenting the Union Budget in the Parliament, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman said that the government has proposed to amend the Apprenticeship Act with a view to further enhancing apprenticeship opportunities for the youth of the country.
We will realign the existing scheme of National Apprenticeship Training Scheme for providing post-education apprenticeship training of graduates and diploma holders in engineering. Over 3,000 crores will be provided for this purpose.
More from our correspondent.
Out of the total budgetary provision for the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, the government has allocated 2,505 crore rupees for Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. Under this scheme, 1,600 crore rupees have been set aside for skill development and 340 crore rupees for apprenticeship and training. In the budget speech, the Finance Minister mentioned that an initiative is underway in partnership with the United Arab Emirates to benchmark skill qualifications, assessment and certification, accompanied by the deployment of certified workforce. The government also has a collaborative inter-training program between India and Japan to facilitate transfer of Japanese industrial and vocational skills, technique and knowledge. The government intends to take forward this initiative with many more countries. Anand Chaturvedi, AIR News, Delhi.
The budget session of Bihar legislature will begin from today with the address of Governor Phagu Chauhan. The session will continue up to 24th of March. There will be 22 sittings during this session. More from our correspondent.
Governor Phagu Chauhan will address the joint session of Legislative Assembly and Council on the opening day. The economic survey of the state will be tabled after the address of the governor. Deputy Chief Minister Tarkishore Prasad, who holds the finance portfolio as well, will present the budget on Monday, 22nd of February. The debate on the governor's address will be held on the same day, followed by the government's reply on 23rd of February. Meanwhile, Assembly Speaker Vijay Kumar Sinha has appealed to the members to cooperate for smooth functioning of the House. This time, 104 new members of Assembly are participating in the House for the first time ever. With KK Lal's report from Patna, AIR News, Delhi.
You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to launch several power and urban sector projects in Kerala today, to also address Visva Bharati's convocation ceremony. Prime Minister calls for special visa for doctors and nurses and regional air ambulance agreement in South Asia to tackle any medical emergency. Puducherry Lieutenant Governor asks Chief Minister V. Narayanasamy to prove majority of his government in Assembly on Monday. For the first time, China admits death of their soldiers in Galwan Valley clashes. India rejects UN Special Rapporteur's comments on Jammu and Kashmir. Foreign ministers of Quad countries call for promoting freedom of navigation in Indo-Pacific region. American Space Agency NASA lands its fifth rover Perseverance on Mars successfully. And in tennis, men's doubles match of Australian Open underway at Melbourne. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on Twitter at AIR News Alerts.
The COVID-19 recovery rate in the country has touched 97.32%. Health Ministry said in the last 24 hours, 11,987 people were discharged after recovery. Till now, 1,656,845 people have recovered from the COVID-19 infection. In the last 24 hours, 12,881 new cases were reported. In Uttar Pradesh, COVID testing and vaccination work is going on in full swing, and with this, it has become the first state to complete more than 3 crore COVID-19 tests and administer more than 10 lakh vaccines to healthcare workers and frontline workers. More from a correspondent.
Additional Chief Secretary, Medical and Health, Amit Mohan Prasad, informed that 1,20,384 COVID samples were tested in the state yesterday. As of now, 3,37,025 samples have been tested. During the last 24 hours, 81 new cases of corona infection were found, and during the same period, 181 patients recovered. So far, 5,91,194 COVID-infected people have got cured. The recovery rate of COVID-19 in the state has become more than 98.12%. The left-out health workers are being vaccinated today also. Mr. Prasad informed that Uttar Pradesh has become the first state in the country to undertake more than 10 lakh COVID vaccination of health and frontline workers. MS Yadav, AIR News, Lucknow.
In Gujarat, 263 fresh cases of COVID-19 were reported in the past 24 hours, taking the infection tally to 2,66,297. Our correspondent reports that 270 patients were discharged yesterday. With this, the state's recovery rate has gone up to 97.71%. Meanwhile, vaccination drive is going on in full swing in the state. More from our correspondent.
So far, over 260,000 patients have recovered till now in the state. No patient died due to coronavirus in the last 24 hours. Major cities such as Ahmedabad, Surat, Vadodara and Rajkot continue to report highest number of fresh cases in the state, whereas over 15 districts reported single-digit cases yesterday. The state is left with over 1,600 active cases. Meanwhile, as many as 808,000 beneficiaries have been covered under the ongoing vaccination drive in the state. More than 3,000 beneficiaries received vaccine doses yesterday at around 335 vaccination centers across the state. Aparna Khun, AR News, Ahmedabad.
In view of the rising COVID-19 cases in Maharashtra, the state government has issued fresh guidelines for Mumbai and other parts of the state. Highly infected 3 talukas and 4 urban areas of Amravati, Akola and Yavatmal districts have been declared as containment zones. Amravati District Disaster Management Authority has declared a weekend lockdown from tonight. Similarly, Akola District Administration has declared a one-day curfew on Sunday. Besides, curfew has also been imposed in Yavatmal, Washim and Jalna districts. Special instructions has also been issued to speed up corona tests in Nanded district. Meanwhile, Ahmednagar District Administration has issued instructions for inspection of COVID care centres in the district.
BMC has issued fresh guidelines to control the spread of corona, which includes sealing of buildings where more than 5 cases of the disease are found, stamping the hands of the people who are on home quarantine, deployment of marshals in crowded areas, etc. On the other hand, in Amravati, a weekend lockdown beginning from tonight to Monday morning has been declared. In Yavatmal district, shops have been instructed to operate between 8 am to 8 pm only. Meanwhile, curfew has been imposed in Washim district and schools and colleges will remain closed for the time being. Also, the authorities said punitive action will be taken against those shopkeepers and customers who do not use masks. Devapre Bhattacharjee, AIR News, Mumbai.
In Jharkhand, Manoj Kumar from Ranchi has been selected for showcasing his toys during the toy fair scheduled to begin from 27th of February to 2nd of March this year. He is quite happy to be part of this toy fair to represent Jharkhand on the national platform. Talking to AIR News, Manoj said that his selection for the esteemed toy fair has boosted his morale and he is happy to promote PM Narendra Modi's motto of Vocal for Local.
कि लॉकडाउन के दरमियान बाहर से हमारे यहाँ किसी तरह का कोई खिलौना वगैरह नहीं आ रहा था और यहाँ डिमांड भी अच्छा था, तो हमने सोचा क्यों ना इसका एक फायदा उठाया जाए। जो हमारे कारीगर हैं उनको भी अपॉर्चुनिटी दिया जाए। फाइनेंशियल प्रॉब्लम से सब जूझ रहे थे, जो 10-12 जो कारीगर हैं उन लोगों को रोजगार दिया। प्रधानमंत्री जी ने ये लोकल फॉर वोकल के लिए कहा है, तो मैं अपना टेडी बियर का बिजनेस चालू किया और लोगों को रोजगार दिया।
The American Space Agency, NASA, has successfully landed its 5th rover, Perseverance, on Mars yesterday in a deep crater near the planet's equator called Jezero. It touched down the surface of Mars after successfully overcoming a risky landing phase known as the 7 minutes of terror. The 6-wheeled vehicle will now spend at least the next 2 years drilling into the local rocks looking for evidence of past life. About the size of an SUV, it weighs a ton and is equipped with a 7-feet-long robotic arm, has 19 cameras, 2 microphones and a suite of cutting-edge instruments to assist in its scientific goals. It has a laser spectrometer on board that will be able to examine rocks using different wavelengths of energy.
In tennis, defending champions Rajiv Ram and Joe Salisbury have reached Australian Open semi-finals of the men's doubles and are playing against Australia-born Jamie Murray and Brazilian Bruno Soares. The match is presently underway at the Melbourne Park in Australia. Later, the semi-finals of the men's singles will begin between 22-year-old Stefanos Tsitsipas against 25-year-old Russian player Daniil Medvedev. In the women's singles, Naomi Osaka claimed an impressive victory 6-3, 6-4 over Serena Williams last evening. Naomi will now face Jennifer Brady tomorrow in the title match.
Unseasonal rains continue to lash many parts of Maharashtra. Vidarbha and Marathwada, along with western Maharashtra, were hit by unseasonal rains, while hailstorms in many places have created worries for farmers. Many districts in Vidarbha region, including Bhandara, Buldhana, Wardha, Chandrapur and Akola, were hit by heavy rains yesterday. The rains were accompanied by thunderstorms. Many parts of Konkan region, including Ratnagiri, Raigad and Sindhudurg, were also lashed by heavy rains. Jalna, Solapur, Satara, Nandurbar and Nasik also witnessed rains and thunderstorms. The untimely rain, considered to be harmful for the rabi crops, including wheat, jawar, corn, as well as seasonal fruits like mangoes and grapes.
Now let us take a look at the weather update for the day. National capital Delhi is witnessing moderate fog in the morning. The minimum temperature is around 10 degrees Celsius, so the maximum will be 28 degrees. Mumbai is expected to have partly cloudy sky with temperature varying between 21 and 29 degrees Celsius. Chennai will have generally cloudy sky with light rain. The temperature will fluctuate between 23 and 30 degrees Celsius. Kolkata will have partly cloudy sky. Minimum temperature was around 20 degrees Celsius, while maximum may go up to 30 degrees. Jammu will have mainly clear sky. The minimum temperature in the city was around 11 degrees Celsius, while maximum will be around 24 degrees. In Srinagar, the sky will be mainly clear, becoming partly cloudy towards the afternoon or evening. Minimum temperature was around -1 degree Celsius, while the maximum is expected to rise up to 17 degrees. Leh will see mainly clear sky. Minimum temperature was -10 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be around 6 degrees. Gilgit will also have mainly clear sky. Temperature will hover between -1 and 20 degrees Celsius. Muzaffarabad will have mainly clear sky, becoming partly cloudy towards the afternoon or evening. The temperature will vary from 7 to 25 degrees Celsius. In Dehradun, the sky was mainly clear in the morning, becoming partly cloudy towards the afternoon and evening. The city will experience temperature between 10 degrees to 25 degrees Celsius. Chandigarh will have mainly clear sky. The temperature is likely to hover between 11 and 27 degrees Celsius. In Hyderabad, the temperature will hover between 20 and 31 degrees. The city witnessed fog and mist in the morning and will have partly cloudy sky late in the day. Ahmedabad will have mainly clear sky. The minimum temperature was 19 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be around 33 degrees. In Patna, the temperature will move between 15 and 28 degrees Celsius with partly cloudy sky. And in Guwahati, fog or mist occurred in the early morning. The minimum temperature was around 15 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be 29 degrees. The News Services Division of All India Radio in its bilingual live phone-in program tonight will bring a special discussion on COVID-19. Dr. K. Srinath Reddy, President, Public Health Foundation of India, will participate in the discussion. Listeners can ask questions to the expert on toll-free telephone number 1800-115767. One can also ask questions on telephone number 011-2331-4444 and post queries on a Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts by hashtag AskAIR.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. After a gap of 75 days, Maharashtra reporting more than 5,000 new COVID-19 cases is one of the stories that dominates headlines this morning. Maharashtra districts face stricter COVID curbs, leads the Statesman. The paper writes that the Prime Minister suggests special visa scheme for health workers. Envoys briefed on Jammu and Kashmir terror threat, leads the Pioneer. Adding, Army informs visiting foreign diplomats that security indicators have improved in Union territory, but terrorists still retain ability to strike as Pakistan-sponsored elements don't want grassroots democracy in Jammu and Kashmir. Bengal bomb attack triggers political row, reports Hindustan Times. China on mind, Quad ministers want respect for territorial integrity, states the Indian Express. The Asian Age, quoting the Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, writes, the Facebook's news blackout arrogant. It will only confirm concerns about behavior of tech giants. And finally, referring to the IPL auction 2021, the Business Line reports that at 16.25 crore rupees, Chris Morris is IPL's royal. Kyle Jamieson goes for 15 crore rupees.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to launch several power and urban sector projects in Kerala today to also address Visva Bharati's convocation ceremony. Prime Minister calls for special visa for doctors and nurses and regional air ambulance agreement in South Asia to tackle any medical emergency. Puducherry Lieutenant Governor asked Chief Minister V. Narayanasamy to prove majority of his government in Assembly on Monday. For the first time, China admits death of the soldiers in Galwan Valley clashes. India rejects UN Special Rapporteur's comments on Jammu and Kashmir. Foreign ministers of Quad countries call for promoting freedom of navigation in Indo-Pacific region. American Space Agency NASA lands its fifth rover Perseverance on Mars successfully. And in tennis, men's doubles match of Australian Open underway at Melbourne. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a nice day.